To welcome every one of you to the maiden edition of the series of webinars organized by the UK's Government Department for International Trade, a business support webinar series. This is the very first of its kind, and it will be the first in the series. It's in partnership with the UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce, and I will be your moderator for this very first edition. My name is Inshira Addo. I work with a multimedia group, and it's an honor and a privilege to be in your company this morning. I'd like to, before we go further, just share some quick ground rules with everyone so that we're able to have a seamless event. The first thing would be that please be committed to ensuring that your phones are all on silent, so that any interruptions do not affect the flow. Secondly, your camera will be switched off during this period, and your microphone will also be muted. The entire webinar will be recorded. And also note that your comments and questions will be recorded as well. Now, in the event that you have a question, kindly use the chat box in the app to send your questions, and we will be fielding all of those questions throughout. And if you require any further help during this period, please send a quick email to info@ukgcc.com.gh. Right. So you're very welcome once again, and this webinar is about greening business, and it's aptly titled Greening Your Business, placing the agenda or the green agenda at the core of your business strategy. Strategy underpins business success, and as a result, we want to explore this specific aspect of greening business, ensuring that your footprint is improving or enhancing sustainability in the environment within which you operate. I'd like to, at this point, to introduce the Country Director of the Department of International Trade that's in the person of Lindsey Gilbert-Crouch, for her to give us a quick introductory message. Over to you, Lindsey.
Thank you, Nana. Thanks for that kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. Akwaba. It's my very great pleasure to welcome you to today's session, which will be the first of a series of 6 webinars that DIT is honoured to be delivering in partnership with the UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce. As Nana said, I am the Country Director for the UK Department for International Trade, or DIT, as some of you may know us, and we seek to support increased bilateral trade and investment between the UK and Ghana, with a focus on supporting the sale of UK goods and services, driving UK investment into Ghana, and tackling market access barriers. Some of the key sectors that we focus on in Ghana include infrastructure, education, and financial and professional services, and digital, of course, which underpins all of these important sectors. Now, there's a very good reason that greening your business has been selected as the first topic for this series of webinars. It's a very important topic for the Department for International Trade, and indeed for the whole of the UK government. Over the coming months and years, and as we head into COP26 next year, it's really going to come to sit at the very heart of what we do. And right now, as we look towards how we can support a clean and resilient recovery globally from COVID-19, looking at practical ways to green your business is absolutely crucial. And we're proud to see UK companies like Unilever being global leaders in this respect. I'd also like to thank George and the team at Unilever Ghana for participating today and for being so generous in sharing their work with us and others on the webinar. I would also like to thank our moderator for today for ensuring that we have a lively and interesting discussion following the presentation. I'd like to thank Ajoba and her team at the UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce and my colleagues at DIT for their work in producing this webinar. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy days today and prioritising this really important subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert, Lindsey, for the introduction. I just realized my mic was mute. So we're going to take a message from Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa in the person of Emma Wade Smith. And she's not going to be with us, but this is a short video that she sent through to us.
Hello, I'm Emma Wade Smith, the UK's Trade Commissioner for Africa, and I am absolutely delighted to welcome you to today's webinar. This webinar series has been brought together by a partnership between the UK's Department for International Trade's Ghana team and the UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce. And this series is not just designed to help you stay in touch during these difficult times, but actually to provide you with some practical information on topical issues. So this series is going to cover issues like business resilience, how to build back better, cleaner, greener, more resiliently, the opportunities that abound in Ghana on education, infrastructure, financial and professional services, how to maintain momentum on digital adoption, and indeed how engaging with diaspora can help you achieve your business objectives. As the UK's Trade Commissioner for Africa, I lead trade and investment teams across 23 African countries. We look at providing trade continuity, tackling market access barriers, and indeed promoting trade and investment opportunities. And Ghana is a really important business partner for us. We have a great long-term partnership between Ghana and the UK, and I know that we can do even better. I know that times now are tougher than most of us have ever experienced in our lives. And as part of the UK government, we, the Department for International Trade, are here to work with you to help you achieve your business goals. And hopefully to inspire more UK companies to think about coming to do business in Ghana. We are here to help. So the purpose of this webinar, and indeed the whole webinar series, is to share strategies, best practice, insights, and to provide a platform for questions, for discussion, and for sharing of knowledge. I do hope that you'll find today's webinar useful, and please do get in touch with the Ghana Trade and Investment team to follow up. Thank you.
And a big thank you to Emma Wade Smith for that introduction. Now we're going to go into the next bit of business, which is the presentation by our special guest today. But before then, I'd like to remind us of a couple of things that Emma mentioned. And she says this webinar series is to ensure that we're able to share best practices, strategy, and insight. And our guest is a man who definitely has such a pedigree to deliver insights, to share experiences with us. He joined Unilever as a management trainee and has been able to notch 29 years of work experience with Unilever. He spent 26 years in various supply chain and project roles, 3 years in customer development roles. His supply chain experiences have covered roles in plan, source, and deliver sub-functions in Ghana, Malawi, China, Singapore, Kenya, and Nigeria. Whilst his 3 years in customer development covered roles as trade marketing manager for foods and later for home and personal care products at Unilever Ghana. Our guest holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Statistics from the University of Ghana, and is the fearless leader of Unilever Ghana in the person of Mr. George Owusu-Ansah. You're welcome, and over to you now, sir.
Isha, thank you very much for the very elaborate and detailed introduction. Indeed, you have raised the bar on me with your very generous introduction. I will start by thanking the UK Government Department for International Trade, DIT, and the UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce for facilitating this webinar and giving this platform to all of us to talk about a matter that will define the future. Thank you very much, Lindsey, and thank you very much, Ajoba and teams, for bringing this together. Indeed, resolving the stress the environment is under has been identified by many researchers, consultants, and great minds as one of the 4 or 5 micro forces that will shape the world. Greening our business, which is our own way in this webinar of capturing that, is therefore a very strategic imperative. And so thank you for inviting us to talk about this very important matter as business, and also for hosting Unilever to this first webinar. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Okay, thank you very much. I will start by first reminding us all what business is all about. And sometimes as we wake up every day and run around running businesses, sometimes I suspect we forget the foundation and our reason for existence as business people. Business is basically about solving the problems of the world. And when business is good at doing that, we get rewarded. If we lose sight of that, we miss our way in the world. And if we were in doubt, I would just refer our minds to a few successful businesses, including my own Unilever, started in the 80s by Lord Leverhulme, who basically set out in that time to, through innovation, commitment, and a lot of work in development, develop products to solve the problems of hygiene at the time, to solve the problems of women spending too much time trying to take care of their families. And out of his endeavor was born Sunlight Soap. The purpose of Sunlight Soap basically was to solve the problems of that time, which was about people living in unhygienic conditions in Victorian England at the time by providing them with a product that would keep them clean and protect them from ailments like dysentery, cholera, and others. And in doing that, he gave people a reason to enjoy their lives. He gave women the opportunity to have time to do other things. He solved a problem then, and through that, Unilever has since the 80s, 1980s, since the 80s, existed up to now. Then is also the example of our competitor Nestle, where through the work of Henri Nestle, who basically focused on looking for a product that would liberate women who for reasons could not breastfeed their children with the baby infant milk, to ensure that children whose mothers for good reason could not breastfeed them could still have a chance in life and reduce infant mortality. And there are many examples of that. And what history has taught us, if we were ever in doubt, is that when as business, we rise to the occasion of solving the problems of humanity, humanity rewards us. Sustaining the environment, and the environment today is a need of mankind. And if we were to play back the lessons we've learned from Henri Nestle, Lord William Hume, and many others, solving the problem of the environment, if we dedicate ourselves to that, and solve it, a need of mankind, we would be rewarded. I would therefore say that solving the problem of the environment is new business. And for those of us already in business, if we don't tackle it, we will die. And as COVID has shown us, those who choose to challenge the science those who choose to indulge in superstition, those who choose to indulge in whatever belief other than following the science, pay a very heavy price. The science has spoken. It is for us in business to follow. Sustaining the environment, as Paul Pullman, our previous CEO, said, is not just about doing the right thing. It is essential to drive business growth. As businesses, we are very important in the world. Indeed, McKinsey says 63 corporations out of the 100 large economic entities in the world, 63 of them are businesses. Very thought-provoking and places a huge responsibility on us as business. Because many a time we are wont to refer to government and seek government to intervene. When you hear, therefore, that out of the 100 largest economies in the world, 63 are businesses, you are reminded the role we play as business in solving the problems of the world. And as Mark Carney has said, the previous governor of the Bank of England, companies that fail to adjust to this new world would fail. Blunt as it is, that is the reality. And we do indeed have in the history of business, companies that have failed to respond to the new world. Companies that have failed to respond to change have failed. And so there, and blunt as it sounds, is a reality of our history and will be the reality of the future. Business, as already mentioned, is about serving people and the needs of people. And so just to help us is, what are people saying? People of today and people of the future. Indeed, half our consumers pay attention to the issues of the environment and the issues of our society. So half our consumers are focused on what we are doing about the environment. 2 out of every 5 consumers is being careful not to consume products that have a negative impact on the environment. And 2 out of every 5 consumers are looking at products that care for the environment, and they see that as a stamp of themselves. So we are getting into a world where people see the care for the environment and their contribution to that as a definition of their being. Very, very profound. Business is not only about today, but about the future. And if we were still in doubt, let's reflect on what the next generation of consumers and shoppers are talking about. Our young people are saying we are anxious about the environment and the world that we would live in. And through their activism and their wallet, are beginning to choose companies and products that have a purpose to care for the environment. And if you want to be in existence, as many great companies have done over generations, you better listen to the young people, because they are the consumers of the future. I thought to set this as a background for what this is all about. Greening the environment is not a favor we do anybody. Greening the environment is not simply a moral responsibility. Greening the environment is business. And it is in our enlightened self-interest as business enterprises to begin to take this serious. If we don't, our consumers, our shoppers, the people who give us our bread and butter have already taken off. We either follow them or we perish. History again has taught us that those who follow the consumer and the shopper, as we have come to know with many companies that have died in the past, if you follow the consumer and the shopper, you'll live for long. If you choose to defy the consumer and the shopper, you will live, but for a very short while, and your life as a business would come to an end. I would, with this background, crave your indulgence to share with you examples of what we have done and are doing in Unilever. And to do that, I have three of my colleagues here with me. I have with me Kofi Jemfi, a young man, and for me, having worked for Unilever all my life, a testimony of Unilever's commitment to this effort to make greening business good business. Kofi works as our sustainability lead, and all he does is guide us as a business to be responsible, guide us as a business every day to think through whatever we do and make sure as we do the job of business, we do it in ways that take care of the environment. I also have with me Benjamin Brown, who is our factory manager, Charles Grifonimo, our factory engineering manager, and Henry Mal, our comms manager. What I would like to do, having said this background, is to invite these gentlemen to walk us through what we are doing in Unilever. We do this from a place of humility. We do this in the belief that we would conquer this need to protect the environment by working in collaboration. Many a time, people would have been tempted to see this as corporate secret and not want to share. We have chosen to share because we believe we cannot do this alone. And we have chosen to share in the belief that when we do this together, we will take care of the world. And if we take care of the world, there is enough space up there for all of us as businesses to jump into. The competition should be about good products, and the competition should be about following the world. We are not going to compete to destroy the environment. And so at this point, I would hand over to Ben, who will take us through a few slides, and then Kofi would cap it up for us, and then I would come back to close it, and we would go into taking questions and any other contributions or thoughts. Ben, if you can take over now.
Thank you, Gordon. We identified the need for us to go 100% carbon neutral by the year 2020. And indeed, as Unilever Ghana, we have started taking serious strides to make this happen. First of all, we looked at our electricity costs. We've realized that there's been soaring electricity tariffs over the last couple of years at a CAGR of 25%. There's been a reduction in the cost of installation of solar panels in Ghana over the last couple of years. And so this indeed was motivation for us to consider solar as an option. And indeed, it is a better substitute over using fossil fuels in terms of running our operations on site. And so we went ahead to bring in solar panels within our factory that is going to deliver for us 1 megawatts of power, also generate 20% savings on our energy costs. At the same time, helping us reduce our CO2 emissions into the environment by 1,300 tons. Now, in doing all this, we have gone into a 15-year partnership with a company that is going to support Unilever in delivering this project. And mind you, if you're assuming that we are spending so much in getting this done, it's actually coming at totally zero cost to us in Unilever. So there's opportunity to partner businesses who will invest and get these solar panels installed at no cost. Whilst we're doing these installations, we created job opportunities as well for locals in the country. Indeed, we had 25 people working on our site for 5 months to get these solar panels fully installed. So this is a good example from how we are helping attack the climate change on global warming. Next slide, please. The other one that we also looked into is biomass boiler. Now, initially, before we introduced this biomass boiler on our site, we were using fossil fuel as a means of generating heat in running our factory. This was generating 11,000 tons of CO2 emissions into the atmosphere annually. Now, with the introduction of this biomass boiler, we are bringing in savings of 1 million euros on our energy costs. It's giving us a 2-year payback. And also, from an environmental perspective, with particulate emissions into the environment, we have managed with this biomass system to eliminate this by 99.9%. But the amazing thing is that we have dropped our CO2 emissions by as much as 70% with this project. Now, to tie this all in, we are looking at how we can green our entire supply chain. So I'll start off first with the basic or the most common raw material that we use in our factory, which is basically palm oil. Now, that palm oil, obviously, it's coming from a palm fruit from a plantation. All our suppliers of palm oil to us are RSPO certified, meaning they are part of the Roundtable Sustainable Palm Oil Sourcing. So we are only sourcing palm oil from suppliers who are not contributing to deforestation in areas and are protecting nature and the plantations. So this is the first action that we have taken. In terms of packaging as well, the products, one of the products that we produce is fully only in paper packaging, recycled paper for that matter. So again, we are not impacting the environment negatively. If you combine that with what we are doing from the biomass boiler, together with the solar panels that we have to supply us green electricity, we are indeed ensuring that our supply chain and value chain is green and not negatively impacting on the environment. This is good business, just as George had mentioned, and we are getting the benefits both financially and socially without impacting the environment. I'll call on my colleague, Kofi Jemfi, to then add on his bit.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. So moving into plastics, really, we all really appreciate the scale of the plastics problem. We can't ignore it anymore. And to move Unilever into action and not to sit on the sidelines and watch as plastics really, plastics litter our ocean environment and in our seas. We move into action to commit to really, really ambitious goals that we are already working towards achieving. So one of our huge headline goals is we want to make sure that by 2025, all of our plastic packaging are recyclable, reusable, or compostable. Our CEO, Alan Job, has said something that's really powerful, that we believe that plastics has a place, and that place is in the environment, not in our streets, oceans, or littering our environment. And therefore, to ensure that these plastics can be recyclable, can be picked from the street and go into a recycling stream, we are committing to make sure by 2025, all of our packaging can and will be recycled, compostable, or reusable. The next is we're making sure that we are including about 50% recycled material back into our packaging. And so we are not relying only on virgin material. And this is really powerful because it's going to help us reduce an absolute plastic volumes of somewhere around 100,000 total tons of plastics, which I think is great to be working at. Lastly, we're looking to make sure that we are helping collect and process, this is very important, more plastics than we sell. And so that's really one of the goals that we're working toward, that I think will revolutionize seeing plastics on all our streets if we're able to achieve this goal by 2025. Now, this is not just headline goals that we're watching, we're actively working to get these goals done. And we have a framework that we're working at that we've really outsourced. This framework is public and you can adapt it and use it in your business. The first is we're making sure our plastics are better, we're making sure we are using less of plastics, and then we're looking into other very noble ventures where we have actually no plastics or cutting down on our absolute plastics use in our business. And all of this is really founded on our employee campaigns that goes really into teaching employees to cut down on their personal use of plastics. And when you come on our site, we are running a zero plastic site where you will find a lot of single-use plastics on our site. This is all together to make sure that we are using less and less of plastics, which will go to having less and less of plastics on our streets and in our ocean, where it will eventually end up back in our food chain. Now, we know this is really a huge task. We are not doing it alone. And so together with other competitors and other multinationals, we came together to form what is called the Ghana Recycling Initiative by Private Enterprise, which is GRIPE. And so GRIPE has all of these other companies from Unilever to Diageo, Nestle, all of us coming together to make sure we are working towards sustainable plastic solutions.
So I would say to everybody at Unilever, we have tried, we have tested, and it is very clear to us that indeed greening is good business if you put your mind to it. The environment is already under stress, and we suspect would even be more so post-COVID, especially with all the conversations going on around where COVID must have come from and how our use or our interactions with the environment may have impacted that. And as we go on with our lives, our sense is that humankind will become more wary of how we link in with the environment. We've already given the news about what people are saying. People are concerned and they need help to solve these problems. And those who move to solve these problems, we believe, as history has shown, would be rewarded. And people are demanding that companies step up to lead. It is a leadership moment for us in business. Not just a leadership moment born out of morality, a leadership moment born out of business. It is good business to green your business. How would we get it done? And here we just thought to stimulate a conversation later was to leave you with our thoughts and experience. First is a mindset and an unflinching commitment and belief in the science that indeed if we do nothing, this planet of ours is going nowhere. That is, in our view, the first need. And again, I would say that our previous CEO, global CEO, Paul Polman, and many others moved this needle through that leadership. Second, for us, we'll be collaborating. Nobody can do this alone. And like many things in life, it requires communal effort. So we need to collaborate, we need to work together. And then is also a need for us to commit to innovation and investment. Because not only are consumers demanding that we solve the problems of the environment, with depressed incomes, with the forthcoming recession, everybody's predicting post-COVID, would also be the challenge that we do this in a way that also responds to the depression that is the recession that is ahead of us. So how do we use innovation and how do we invest in development to find ways to take care of the environment and also do good business? And then is to work with the next generation, embrace and empower the youth so that they are part not only through activism, but they are part of designing the solutions and are part of executing the solutions. If you think the environment is less important than the economy, hold your breath while you count your money and see what will happen to you. These challenges of inequality and climate change are not things we are going to be able to tackle alone. We need business, government, civil society, and citizens to come together to represent the change. It is a call to our common humanity, as our current CEO, Alan Job, has very eloquently said. With that, again, we would indulge you with a little video, if we can play it, and sharpen your thoughts, any questions you may have, any input you may want to put on the table as we go through this short video. And after the video, myself and my colleagues here will be happy to go through whatever questions or thoughts people may have.
Without question, Unilever needs to have a 100% deforestation-free supply chain, including on peatlands and tropical rainforests.
I want Unilever to safeguard and improve water supplies in its factories and for the communities around it. It's not enough to help farmers and smallholders protect their land. Unilever needs to go much further and ensure they benefit much more from their hard work.
I need Unilever to help our farmers regenerate nature and biodiversity.
It's imperative that Unilever takes significant, science-based action on climate change well ahead of the 2050 deadline set by the Paris Agreement.
Unilever must make sure all the plastic it uses is recyclable, reusable, or compostable within 5 years and kept out of the environment.
Like everyone at Unilever,
Our ambition is not just to make the world's best consumer products.
In doing so, we want to leave the planet in a better state than we found it.
This is why we're taking action.
To deliver zero emissions by 2039.
To have a deforestation-free supply chain.
To work with farmers and smallholders
who can help us protect and regenerate nature.
To preserve water.
And keep plastics out of the environment.
That's why our brands are investing €1 billion in a new climate and nature fund that will allow them to take action over the next 10 years to fight climate change, to regenerate nature, and to preserve resources for future generations. And if anyone thinks these aren't worthwhile ambitions, I'd just ask, what planet are you on?
Insha, we hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, George. That was a very insightful presentation, and well done to you and the team. Very audacious goals. I was just looking at the slide on your 3 big goals of wanting to halve your environmental footprint, specifically looking at ensuring that your greenhouse emissions are reduced by half, managing water and waste better, and also sustainable sourcing. And the other things around that, of course, will have a knock-on effect on the desire to impact positively on the health and well-being of more than 1 billion people and carry millions along with you as you grow your own business. The critical thing around this would be, at what point did Unilever prioritize the importance of greening the business, you know, in taking this decision to go forward and ensure you're getting your operations aligned to achieving these goals?
Okay, so Insha, first is I would say that I will first pay tribute to our most recent global retired global CEO, Paul Polman. Mm-hmm. And Paul, in his typical visionary way of seeing the world and his deep understanding of humankind and business, got the link between business and humanity. Because at the end of the day, we serve humanity. And any matter that threatens human beings threatens our business. And so if the science says to us that the care for the environment or the lack of care for the environment is a threat to humankind, if you then are a business that has been in operation for over 100 years and seek to be in operation for hundreds and hundreds of years, that is very, very a big conversation to have. So therefore, as mentioned earlier, Paul, in his wisdom, and as time is showing, together with other leaders have been proven right, saw the lock between business and the environment, the lock between the future and the sustainability of business, and the future and the sustainability of the environment and the planet. So I would say that it must have been sometime in the early 2000s that Unilever took that bold step to lead and invest in protecting the environment, because it was very clear we needed to protect our consumers and our shoppers to survive, and that is business.
Well, that's a very apt answer to the question, and it leads me to the next one. Lindsey Gilbert-Crouch has a question which I think ties into this follow-up I have for you, which is to say that if you made that decision as an organization in the early 2000s, give or take, you're 2 decades into the journey, but the organization itself has been around for quite a while. How easy has it been, and in your estimation, for businesses that haven't been around as long as a Unilever or a Nestle, how difficult would it be in terms of the cost involved in aligning and getting your processes to ensure you're going green?
All right. So again, at the risk of repeating myself, first is everybody needs to embrace, as business people, what business is about. It is not a favor we do humanity, it's not a favor we do the world. We need the world and humanity to survive as businesses. And so anything that puts humanity and the world at risk puts business at risk. And it's very, very simple and clear to get that equation sorted. So you need to sort that equation in your mind, because somehow you can be lost in the field thinking that you could run a business without humanity, and thinking that, well, I'm making money today, and somehow, even though the people who give me money are threatened, if I don't care for that, I would continue to make money. You just live in, you probably will live for a very short time. So I think first, that is very, very important, to embrace that reality, that it is indeed our enlightened interest to be part of the effort to protect the world. We don't protect it for anybody, we protect it for ourselves. That is number one. Number two is also to see it as an end, because it is very, very simple that we need to do it in ways that are also cost efficient. Otherwise, we can't afford to live in the world, because the solution to the problems of the environment also have to be affordable. And time has taught us that once we invest in innovation, we invest in development, once we invest in learning, we crack the problems of the world. This is the world and a generation that have sent people to the moon. This is a world and a generation that today, with everything we see around us, we are connected, and at a click of a phone, of your cell phone, you are talking to anybody anywhere in the world. Look at what we are doing now, connecting via a webinar. Many years ago, if you had talked about this, you probably would have been thought of as the village madman screaming and shouting on the back of some shots of whatever. So we have, through time, shown that when we commit ourselves to any endeavor, we would get it right. And we would get it right in ways that are cost effective and cost efficient. Remember when computers started, you needed a huge room to put a computer in. And it was only the very few big companies, big conglomerates that could afford computers. Today, our sons and daughters, our children, have little gadgets in their pockets we call the phone, and it is doing exactly what those big things were doing in the past. How did we get here? We got here through innovation and development. And that is the solution. And you would see that today, the gadgets of today are much cheaper than the computers of the past. And so today it is commonplace for everybody to have a computer. It's also important to think out of the box. And if you go back to what Ben shared with us, we have, in putting together our solar panels, signed a 15-year agreement with a third party. We've not paid a dime, and we are saving 20% on our energy costs. So it's going to be win-win. We've got to sort out the problems of the environment because it's in our enlightened self-interest. We've got to sort it out in a way that is affordable to the world, because that is the only way people then can patronize the solutions and we can make money as a business. And if we put our minds to it and commit through innovation and development, we would get it. If we don't, and again, history has shown that those companies who are the advent of technology refused to change and embrace it, died.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we will die. It's only a matter of time.
Absolutely. Well, and that leads me to a question from Lindsey Gilbert-Crouch, and I'm sure you've talked about some of it in just the answer you just delivered. But I think maybe if you could practicalize some of the stuff in there beyond the concept. And the question is, what advice can Unilever give to businesses that are just beginning the process of greening their business? You know, share some insights of how your journey has been and what others can learn from it to ensure that they arrive.
I will go back, Inshra, to the getting it done messages. First is commit. Collaborate, seek knowledge. There is already so much out there. And the example for us is saving €1 million on our energy, pay back 2 years. How many business propositions have a payback of 2 years? Remember, we did this in the year 2018. The question is, why didn't we do it in 2016? Why didn't we do it in 2014? Because the technology we've used was available. We didn't do it because we didn't know. And so first is to embrace this as something to do. Collaborate, go out there, and there are solutions that are cheaper and more sustainable than the propositions we have in our businesses today. And we see that in many places. We have shared with you 3 examples: biomass saving €1 million. We have shared with you putting solar panels on the roofs here, and actually it's made our roofs more beautiful because our roofs were aluminium sheets that were beginning to rust, and we needed to spend money painting them almost every other year. We didn't add the saving from that to the numbers, so we've actually cheated the environment. We should have added that saving. And we also have shared with you the work we are undertaking to green our supply chain. We are doing this absolutely, Inshra, trust us, that we are doing it in ways that ensure that we indeed save at the bottom line. Because if we don't, we would be uncompetitive in the market. So again, I leave the message is end and end. And our experience is that if you collaborate, you learn, and you commit, you will find solutions that do both for you.
Okay.
And so
fantastic. And if you are on the call and would like...
Sorry, Inshra.
Sorry. Please repeat.
So for the little businesses you talked about, because you said, what about the little businesses? You don't have to. You don't have to be big if you can get a 15-year partnership you pay no dime for. Indeed, that is something for the small man. And as said, there are many solutions that are good for the small man. And I think if you ask me, one of the barriers to embracing the environment and the solutions, therefore, is about commitment, is about leadership, and is about following the science and believing that indeed this is the way to go. If we believe it, we have most of the solutions already available. And where the solutions are not available, we will be part of solving the problem.
Wonderful. Now, the critical thing here you said was having the commitment, but collaboration is also key. You admitted that Unilever alone can't solve the problem of greening and taking better care of our environment. I would go back to the very first slide that you put out, and there was a statement, I think it's McKinsey report that pretty much in my summary of it is that 63% of business entities, or 63% of the largest entities globally are business. And everything else would fall within the other 37. Given that statistic, who should lead in driving and ensuring that we have the right environment within which greening businesses should thrive? And I'm talking more in the compliance space. Should greening be legislated, or should it be a proactive strategy that businesses embark on?
Okay, I would share my point of view on this, Nshira. And I think first is we need to all need to focus on solving the problems. Should there be legislation at a point in time? Yes. When should be on the back of solutions to the problem? Because I don't believe that everybody at every point in time will mean good. So that there comes a time when, as a community, when we have found the solutions to our problems, we have to join together. And those who then refuse to be part of that solution bear the consequence of not being deciding to be not to be part of that solution. So I think the first enterprise is to find more cost-effective solutions to the problems of the environment. And as we find those solutions, it's then with the support of government and NGOs and others to draft the necessary legislations and the necessary enforcement rules that bring us all together and join us in the endeavor. So I think it's going to be leadership from the private sector in investing and innovating for the solutions. Is going to be government and others upon the solutions being available, making sure that we level the ground and we invite everybody and stimulate everybody in. And I would use the recent example of COVID. Communities that, with the benefit of the technology around nose masks, with the availability of soap and water, have embraced those, have done better. And communities that have decided to do otherwise, even though the solutions are there, have struggled. And even as you walk around our country, despite the many admonitions from everybody, you still will find people who don't want to do the right thing. But once the solutions are in place, I then believe that you need to enforce the solutions, because it is, as already said, we need to collaborate, and it's always going to be a communal effort. It's not going to be just a race for the few. If person A is doing everything to save the environment and person B is doing everything to mess up the environment, we go nowhere.
Wonderful. And so please use the chat button to send your questions through so that we can take reactions. And if you have contributions to make, if you may have also started something in your own organization that you would like to share, it would be good to hear some examples and insights from the rest of our participating audience. We've just talked about the legislation. Now, you mentioned that one of the key things to the getting things done bit, engaging the youth. Now, how has Unilever done that?
Okay, so first is I don't want to embarrass Kofi Jemfi. Kofi is a very young man, and if you can see me on the video, I have a lot of gray hair. So yes. First is to make sure that we have people like Kofi Jemfi to enlighten us, because Kofi is a product, is a guy for the future, is to enlighten us. I think we also do then a lot of work with schools, teaching young people about the environment, teaching young people to take care of themselves. Okay, so Kofi, through his work, is very engaged with the youth. He is also very engaged with many of the activist groups around in making sure that we are giving them support and knowledge to do the things that they have to do. And what we also do as part of the effort, Insha and everybody on this call, is working with people to give them, to support them, create solutions to the problems of the environment and earn income from that. So that for them, they see the benefit of being part of the effort to solve the problems of the environment. And hopefully that rubs off their colleagues, that rubs off their buddies, and also their playmates and classmates. So through Kofi, we are very engaged as part of our work with the youth, bringing the youth in and learning from them what we could do, and taking back to the youth what we know and what solutions we have as a multinational, so that they can then take that forward, either through their activism or creating little enterprises to solve the problem and make a living for themselves.
Okay. Now, according to Newsweek's top 10 green companies, so the world's most profitable businesses are not the greenest. So the Newsweek's top 10 are not on Forbes' list of the most profitable companies. Is there a correlation, or does it? What do you think accounts for this phenomenon, where it doesn't look as though the greener you are, the profitable you become, based on these two examples?
It's a changing time, Inshira. And if you look at that Forbes list again, how many of those companies in the top 100 were in existence 100 years, 50 years ago? I'm sure today you would have the Amazons, you have the Apples, and you have many more new companies on there. And where did these new companies come from? They came from embracing the new times, which was technology. The new normal is the environment. And so I'm not too worried about what we see today, because what we see today is the past. For those of us who want to live for long, we need to concentrate on what will sustain us into the future. I'm not sure I would be alive another 50 years, but if you are a student of history and history of recent times, I would dare say, as already we are beginning to see with the work of people like Elon Musk in the area of cars that do not depend on fossil fuels. And we have seen with people like Apple and Amazon in recent times. Let's watch what the top 100 companies will be in another 50 years.
And
you mentioned it becomes our choice then, Ishira, whether we want to live for another 50 years or we want to enjoy having been top 100 up till now and ready to fold up.
Now that speaks to a very interesting point. You made it clear that at Unilever, going green was not an ethical decision. It was more a business decision, and the business of fixing the environment and getting rewarded for it. If I could, permit me to paraphrase the statements that you made. What do you see, what would you recommend for businesses that are more focused on the bottom line today? How can they practically ensure that they're balancing this transition from, just a pure focus on the bottom line, but also ensuring that they're around for longer rather than make money in the short term and then fold up?
Okay, I think, Insha, as a student of business in the time I've been part of business, I think the point you made, and I think you answered your question yourself when you talked about balance. Because business, we don't consume everything we make today. Just as in life, in our personal lives, we save and invest for the future. It's the same in business. Mm-hmm. You understand the future, you understand the wins that are coming, and you prepare for those wins. And so every year we are in the business of investing some of what we earn into the future. That is all I will tell those businesses. It is a choice you make again, whether you want to live for long or you want to die. So if you see everything as today, and the bottom line you are making today, and you refuse to change, you refuse to follow the signs, you will die. We have chosen to follow the signs. And as we have already shown, following the signs and the investments we have made through the leadership of people like Paul Polman in the past is beginning to yield results at the bottom line. We've talked to you about the savings we are already making. And so if you follow the signs and you commit part of your earnings now into investing in the future will reward you. That has been our experience, and that is all I will say. So it's a choice we have to make at the end of the day, whether we want to live for long or whether we want to be around for a while and then move on. If we choose to be around for a while, the environment will help us achieve that.
So COVID-19 clearly impacted heavily on businesses and indeed supply chain. You talked about how you're looking at, deforestation-free supply chain by, 3 years from now. This is a commitment you've made. In Ghana, as we speak, there are major challenges with enforcing the afforestation or the preservation of our green belt. How does a business achieve a goal or a commitment such as this when the environment that sort of has this perpetuation going on is not within their direct purview and influence?
So we have chosen to lead, and rather than, because we are powerful, and as businesses we are all powerful, and again I say that in humility. Today Unilever buys, our biggest raw material is palm oil, and the amount of palm oil we buy is such that if we don't buy, many of the palm oil suppliers would have a problem. And so what have we done? We have, in collaboration with them, said, we would buy from you if you commit to work with us to make sure that your value chain and supply ecosystem is sustainable. Mm-hmm. And if you commit to do that, we would work with you through the knowledge we have to make your business sustainable environmental wise, and then we will do business together. And I would say that at this point, even small mills we work with, as I speak to you now, there is a small mill we work with that is going through a sustainability audit to help them identify what we need to do together so that they can sustain their mill, they can sustain their farms, which then ensures that they do the right things, and we move together. So everybody in their small area has to do their patch. If we all wait looking at each other, we will get nowhere. So we have started trying to do the little we can do. And that is why this conversation we are having is very gratifying. That together we begin to spread the word. Everybody do your patch. And if we all do our patch, then it is done. If we all spend time looking at each other, nothing gets done. And there's nobody big or small in this project, because it is about life. And that is what business is about at the end of the day. So again, what I will say is accept, commit, collaborate, and educate yourself. And you would find a lot you can do that will not impact your bottom line. Many a time would actually enhance your bottom line, as we have discovered here. So let's move away from wondering whether greening the environment is good business. That used to be the conversation many years ago. And I remember people like Greenpeace and what they endured at the hands of the business leaders then. Today, we have solutions that inure to the bottom line. Engage, collaborate, educate yourself, and you would begin to do the right things to sustain the environment and give your business life, because that is what the consumers of today are beginning to ask, and the consumers of the future are shouting for.
Great. So I have two quick questions as we prep to close. This one's from Na Ayelisa Kwenometo, a green change maker who used to work with Fan Milk and Gripe. Would like to know, should like you to share practically what you've been doing by way of collaborating with other stakeholders, especially members of the informal sector, to achieve the greening process in relation to plastic management.
Okay, now I would ask Kofi to share in detail what we've been doing in that area, and it's because you've asked me to tell you the very practical steps. And so, Kofi.
Thank you. In terms of what we're doing with external and non-commercial stakeholders in the plastic ecosystem, first is we co-funded Gripe with most of the other multinationals whose business is similar to ours to set up a more sustainable waste management approach to tackling plastic waste. Now, outside of that, we do work with waste pickers to ensure that we're giving them some of the PPTs that they would need to ensure their work they work in a safe environment. I remember very clearly also what we did when we went on lockdown is that waste pickers were enlisted as essential workers, and so they were still working. But they faced a lot of risk as managing a waste that potentially could have been contaminated. So what we did was, in conjunction with our Lifebuoy brand, we gave out a social enterprise that works directly with waste pickers, packs of soap that the waste pickers will use to keep them safe in this COVID environment. So that's one practical example I could give in very recent times where we have collaborated with external partners to make sure that these waste pickers, who are the frontliners in tackling plastic waste, are kept safe and that they continue to deliver their good services to Ghana. So that's about just one example outside. There are many others that we can go into discussing the details of.
Thanks very much. Now, the editor at Joy News, or rather Joy Business, George Riafi, sends two quick questions in. Now, he wants to understand how you arrived at the earlier savings and overall by 2030, how much you hope to have saved by going green, and also what the impact of COVID-19 has had on the business, especially in the areas of supplies, credit systems, and things that impact on your ability to go green.
Okay, so first, George, good afternoon and good to hear from you again. How did we arrive at the earlier savings? I guess the question is the 1 million we mentioned, the 1 million euro savings on energy because of our biomass we mentioned, and also the impact on the environment in terms of our carbon emissions we mentioned, and also the use of solar panels we mentioned. So it's a very easy calculation, because we've been users of the grid, the national grid, and as part in our P&L, we know how much we've paid in the past and continue to pay. And we know today how much we are paying because of what we have invested in. So it's a very, very easy equation, and it's showing in our bottom line. And indeed, we had the chance to have our AGM sometime in June, and we shared this with our shareholders, showing them these investments, because these investments are showing for us in our books, our P&L. So that is how we have calculated it. For 2030, what we are sharing is our ambition, because business is about ambition. Business is about setting yourself a target and then working to get there. And so what we aim to do in 2030 is going to demand that we do a lot of work. But what we have set for ourselves in 2020 is we would be carbon neutral by 2030. And we have started sowing the seeds towards that through the biomass work we have done, through the solar panels we have put on the environment, and through the massive work that is going on to make sure that our value chain is carbon neutral. And on the global scale as Unilever, we are also getting into the business of understanding even how the use of our products, be it through water, as people wash with our soaps, be it through the use of energy as people use our soaps in their washing machines, etc., how that impacts the environment. And there is massive research going on in those areas to see how we can limit the use of soap when people have to, the use of water, for instance, when people have to apply our soaps, and how we can make sure that not only do we get better at sustaining the environment in our production processes, but also in the use of our products. And as we get the benefit of the outcomes of this research, Unilever Ghana, being part of the Unilever community, would bring that into Ghana. So our CEO, global CEO, has challenged all of us that by 2030, we've got to get carbon neutral. And in the spirit of commitment and also fighting for that, there is a lot of research going on to make sure that we do that in a way that does not impact the cost of our products to our consumers. COVID-19, yes, which I think is George's last question.
Yes.
For us.
Yes, it has. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, COVID-19 for us has had an impact on us. But I say what it has taught us to do is to do some of the things that we should always have done anyway. For instance, the bit about hygiene and the fact that it is important for human beings, all of us, to be hygienic. So the point about having to wash your hands more often with soap and running water, COVID has made it a way of life today. But really, when you think about it, with the flu around us all the time, with cholera around us all the time, with dysentery and the many other diseases around us all the time, this is something we should be doing anyway. So if there was any good thing in COVID, it's that it's giving us the motivation to begin to take some of these things more seriously. And I believe we would be the better for it if we sustain some of these practices post-COVID. As a business, in trying to secure our people and ourselves, yes, we have spent money that we had not projected at the beginning of the year in COVID. So we are spending a lot in nose masks, a lot in face shields, a lot in ensuring that on our plants, people can work socially distanced. a lot in the canteen, making sure that as people go for their lunch breaks, they can socially distance as they eat. So we've had to do many things that is costing us money. But at the end, we come back to the theme of business, and business is about people. We get up in the morning, we come to work, we go home to sleep, and we come the following day. And what is this about? It's about people. And so in this time of COVID, sprung on us as it was, we have to react and protect our people, believing that as we get to learn about COVID and live with COVID, we would be able to take care of ourselves in ways that are not as expensive as is today. A vaccine may come. We may have a therapeutic solution soon, and these things would come. But it is very clear that we need to take care of people to await that day. So it's something that we are doing. As a business that is also into providing hygiene products, we also see it as our calling to make sure that in spite of the challenges of COVID, we set ourselves up to be able to produce so that we are able to give hygiene products to Ghanaians so all of us can take care of ourselves. So it has hit our bottom line, but come the time, come the man, or come the time, come the business. We've taken it on the chin in belief that this is about people, and we shall overcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, George. We have just a few minutes to wrap up, so I'd like to say a big thank you to you for gracefully sharing your thoughts, your insights, your examples with us. Of course, thank you also to your team and the good work they're doing, Ben, Kofi, and Henry. Definitely set the tone for the rest of the engagements of these business support webinars organized by the DIT and supported by the UKGCC. Now, for businesses that are joining who may not be members of the UKGCC, I'd like to entreat you to make an effort to learn a lot more about it. It goes to cement and deepen the strong and lasting economic, political, and cultural relationships with the UK, between the UK and Ghana. And the Chamber of Commerce, UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce, has been around since 2016. It's a member-based trade organization or association. It facilitates and promotes bilateral trade between the UK and Ghana. And as the world gets smaller, I think we all need partners across the water. So it would be a good idea to join. And if you need more information, please call Margaret on 054-012-6619, or you can go to the website, which is ukgcc.com.gh for more information. They're also on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on Facebook. You can find the chamber and get more information on how you can join and be open to wonderful, insightful conversations like what we've had with George today. George, thank you so much once again. Joba, thank you, and the team. Thank you, Lindsey Gilbert-Crouch, for talking to us and of course, putting this together. And a big thank you also to Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, Emma Wade-Smith, for also underpinning and just underscoring rather the importance of this engagement. This has been the first one. I'm confident that it will get better from here. And George, you've set the bar, and we can only aspire to match this in the subsequent ones. Thank you once again.
Welcome, and for everybody on this call, remember COVID-19 is real. Let's observe the protocols, wash our hands under running water, wear our nose masks when we are in a place that has people other than ourselves, and be part of the effort to also spread the word to those who are still in doubt, so that hopefully we all would come on the right side of this. Thank you, everybody, for the time and for listening to us. We are open, and the things we have shared today, if anybody into time wants to join up with us and understand and get to know how we did it, or any support that they think they require, we are very ready to offer that. Thank you, and have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Good day, everyone, and God bless you all. Goodbye.